Influenced by someone?
I don't remember. Corey, do you remember?
I have no idea.
Corey's not listening.
No, I
Corey's
just
looking at
don't
pictures
know.
of naked ladies.
Yep. That's the intro.
Yep.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Smark Avengers. My name is Corey. With me is Dylan and John. Guys, how's it going?
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, not bad, not bad.
Wait. Mhm.
Yep.
How was your trip to the moon?
I went to
Oh
the moon.
yeah. Well, you didn't go all the way to the moon,
No.
or did you? Did you?
So that
No.
means he didn't bring us back any cheese?
I did not bring you back any cheese. Um,
Did you bring us anything?
no, I
Ooh.
didn't.
Corey,
You've not been good little boys this whole year, so I did not bring you any
I
gifts.
I don't know if you can authentically say that. I don't know. You haven't been watching us 24/7.
That's true. Not until the
You
spy
know.
cameras get installed.
Well, you won't be able to look through them. It's only for Elon Musk.
Oh, okay, got it. So, everybody, welcome to Smark Avengers. We already did the intro
Well,
aspect of it. Nah, we're gonna keep it. Um, so a year ago, we did a very not comic book related episode because, as you may or may not know, our name is a play on words. So, for those uninitiated, do one of you guys want to explain what Smark Avengers actually mean? Over a year of doing the show, we're finally going to explain the name.
well, it's self-explanatory to us, I guess.
Yep.
Smark Avengers is because there was a team called the Dark Avengers, and then we are the Smark Avengers to play off that. Smark is like a wrestling term to mean smart mark, which really just means mark, if we're
Yeah.
being honest with ourselves. But we've
Mm-hmm.
convinced, wrestling fans have convinced themselves that they know more than the regular mark, and therefore they're better, and therefore they're smarks. And that's us. We're all wrestling fans, we're all comic book fans. So it was a good way to mix the two things together. And then we have spent, I don't know, 15 years just talking about comics,
Mm-hmm.
not really delving into the wacky world of professional wrestling.
So,
And it's hard to know whether or not our audience likes that or not because we don't have an audience.
well, we've only done the one wrestling episode. But real quick, to explain what a mark is a term that is used for basically a sucker,
Yeah.
a fool. And that comes from back in the days of carnival workers. They used to take a piece of chalk and put a mark on the back of somebody's shirt, indicating that that person's going to be easy to fool and take their money. Because wrestling
Yeah.
has been, a work all about trying to make people believe that it was real up until about the 1990s, late 80s, where it was getting more and more exposed, where it became public
Yeah.
knowledge that it was fake. Because before then, people would argue with you about it, but not really so much anymore.
No, but now like the people who watch it they'll call themselves marks.
Which is weird.
Whereas in the day, the whole point of it was to not let the marks know that they're being marked. They're
Yeah.
not supposed to be in on the call.
Yep.
I think that
But
that's
nowadays as well, like WWE have just completely opened the door to like the backstage workings and everything that's going on. So it's like there's no pretense whatsoever that this is real.
Yeah.
no.
So
But I think that in modern wrestling, they're kind of like they're still trying to work us in like a different way. You know what I mean? Because
Mm.
like now that the whole business is open and they've made it quite clear that this is a work, I feel like they're still trying to work us in a more modern. Anyway, that's not the point of the show today.
no. So the point of the show is we're going maybe making this an annual tradition where to kind of embrace the smart aspect of our name, we're going to be talking about a major wrestling event that occurred this last weekend, WrestleMania. So
Yes.
WrestleMania, WWE's premier wrestling event. It's been that way for 30 some years now. 40?
40?
40?
I would imagine if I was to hazard a guess, I would say 41 years.
Yeah. So it's been a thing for quite a while. It's been a thing longer than the three of us have been alive, for the most part.
Fine.
Yep.
Well, just about.
Yep. These are all little babies.
John, don't expose yourself. Um,
For the love of God.
Please keep the camera
You can't
off.
go down that route again. Oh my God.
So
So many lawsuits.
So last year was a bit of a unique situation because Dylan was actually at WrestleMania for both nights. This year,
Yeah.
you guys watched it as it was happening live.
Mhm.
I did not because I forgot that WrestleMania was going to be on TV. Primarily because
Yeah,
the build-up for it was way too fucking long.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because, if you look at the time difference between when Elimination Chamber was, which was the last major event they had, and WrestleMania, it was like, what,
it's 2 months, I think.
about 2 months. Yeah, that's a long time to build a match.
Yeah.
Especially because you
Yeah.
don't want to overexpose it by having them actually wrestle each other. So it basically just becomes talking segments for 2 months.
Also, the fact that some of
And
those
lots
matches
of brawling
weren't super
segments.
well built up. Huh?
Yeah. I was just saying, lots of brawling segments as well.
Yeah. Just ways to fill the time. Like, if they'd have trimmed that by 2 or 3 weeks, it would have been way better.
Yeah.
I think.
Mhm.
Especially because like John Cena wasn't going to be there every week. So there's like 2 weeks of Cody Rhodes and John Cena going back and forth, and then like 3 or 4 weeks of just Cody Rhodes talking.
Yeah.
You're like,
Mhm.
okay. Well, and they were good.
Yeah.
Cody Rhodes is a great talker. Great talker. The problem I had was in the 2 times that Cody Rhodes and John Cena were face to face on SmackDown, both times Cody Rhodes caught John Cena with the crossroads and put him down. I'm like,
Mhm.
Cena's 100% gonna
Yep.
win.
Yeah.
Especially because they did the week of the day before WrestleMania, the Friday before
Yeah.
WrestleMania.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
Cody
always
puts
whoever's standing tall on the go home show is always gonna lose.
Cody's gonna lose like
Mhm.
100%. The fact that they did it twice, I'm like, okay,
Yep.
that's
So
put a fine bow on it. You know.
So this WrestleMania took place in the Allegiant Stadium in Paradise, Nevada, billed as Las Vegas, Nevada. Night 1 and night 2. And yeah, we'll just kind of go through the event. Do you guys want to do it in the order that the matches took place in, or do you want to do it?
I think we should.
Okay.
I think we should.
Yeah.
Okay. So night 1 of WrestleMania.
I should point out.
Yeah.
I feel like the only reason we talked about it last year was simply because I was there.
Because you were there. Yeah.
Mhm.
You
like,
spent
we're just talking about it today.
And to be fair, it was a very long episode, but you did spend a lot of time talking about what you were eating in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The food was so good. Let's do it again. Let me talk about that pizza. I would have loved to go this year, but I don't have any money, and I was talking to my brother about this after on the build up to WrestleMania, all the way up to the build up, and then after the show, we were both convinced that we went to the better WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I think
I would agree with that.
Listen,
I don't think this year's WrestleMania was bad. I enjoyed it. I had a fun time. I think last year the build was better, the matches were better, the vibe is better, the food was better. Although I did get
Well, I
pizza.
would say one match was probably better than anything from last year's, but we can get into that in a bit.
Yes, I think we'll get to that.
All right, so night 1 of WrestleMania was April 19th, and the show opened with the World Heavyweight Championship bout. The defending champion Gunther versus the Royal Rumble winner Jey Uso. So, so real quick, just as if you're not familiar with either man, Jey Uso is incredibly popular with the WWE audience. Multi-time tag team champion, won the Intercontinental Championship about earlier last year. Gunther has been a dominant force ever since he came into NXT, or actually NXT UK, winning the world title there. Transitioned over to NXT proper, was the beast. Well, did he ever actually? No, I don't think he was in NXT proper. I think he went NXT UK and jumped straight to the roster from there.
He was in NXT.
He was? Okay.
Yeah.
Did he hold the NXT title?
I
don't-
think
I don't
so.
Okay,
remember.
fair enough.
We can look that up.
Yeah, but Gunther was the longest reigning Intercontinental title with in history, surpassed the Honky Tonk Man's record. By the way, if you've never watched wrestling before or heard anyone talk about it, me saying he surpassed the Honky Tonk Man's record is gonna be a fucking hell of a sentence for you. We won't get
Not going to
into.
make any sense.
Yeah, we're not gonna get into the Honky Tonk Man. Basically, what you need to know is that Gunther has been very protected, very dominant the entire time he's been on the main roster, and even before then. So,
Yeah.
Jey Uso's popularity is within the last year, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
quite fair, yeah.
So, a lot of people weren't crazy about Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble, despite the fact that he's incredibly over with the audience and the crowd. He's got a very big entrance
Yes.
that people love to do along with him.
Mhm.
But any thoughts on the match itself? Because Jey Uso did the unthinkable and defeated Gunther, which was not his first time facing Gunther. He faced him a couple of times and lost every other time.
Yes.
hmm
Which kind of played into the match, I think.
Yeah, it was definitely part of
Yeah.
the build-up.
You see, during the match, Jay ends up doing a lot of Gunther's moves back to him, and to try and show that he's learned something from having wrestled this unstoppable killing machine a couple of times already. Which I liked. We talked about this before. I wasn't a big fan of the finish of the match because I think it just kind of. I think Gunther tapped too quickly for me. Because they've done such a good job of protecting Gunther and making him seem like an unstoppable monster. Generally, I feel like if you're gonna be the one that makes Gunther tap out, it needs to be a little bit bigger. You could argue and just say, oh, Gunther has never been in that position before. He panicked. He was exhausted from the Uso splashes or whatever. I can see that.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. I just wasn't a big fan of that finish, but I didn't hate it. It was a good match, honestly. But the one thing about last year was that Uso was definitely in the stinker of the night
Yeah, him
last
versus
year,
brother
and
Jimmy.
I thought it was weird. Oof. It was
was a rough
weird
one.
that it was rough, and I thought it was funny that the guy that was in the worst match of WrestleMania last year is now in a title match and is probably going to win the championship in this year's WrestleMania. What a difference a year makes. One thing that I think is funny that you pointed out was that people were not happy about Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble, and they're not very happy about him winning the championship. But this is, that's smart talk.
Yeah.
Because if you listen to the crowd, they fucking love that guy. They love Jey Uso, people do. He's over, and why wouldn't you capitalize on that when you get the chance, right? In a perfect world, Gunther would do the same thing. He would go on and hold that championship for months, years, right? Because he only won the belt at SummerSlam.
Yeah, he's not been
SummerSlam
champion
to
for
WrestleMania. It's
what,
not
6
that
months,
long.
6,
If
7
you
months.
think about it. No, that's the shortest title reign Gunther's had in the WWE, and it's for the World Heavyweight Championship. Like that, But at the same time, the WWE, we have to do something with Jey Uso. He's super popular.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if he ends up being a transitional champion or whatever. He won the Royal Rumble. He won the Heavyweight Championship. He dethroned Gunther. Those are big stats to put in this guy. It legitimizes him, makes him look like a big deal. I don't see the problem with him. He's super over. The people love him. Fair play.
John, any thoughts?
Dylan pretty much covered all of my thoughts right there. I did enjoy the finish more than Dylan did because I think Jay really had to earn it. I think he strung together a couple of super kicks and then 3 splashes in a row and then went to the sleeper. It wasn't like he just slapped the sleeper on and Gunther tapped out straight away.
Yeah.
But he earned it, and like Dan said, he's so over with the crowd. And in terms of kicking off WrestleMania and kicking it off in a big way, it doesn't get much bigger than sort of crowning Jey Uso as the world champion. and giving him the board, see if he can run with it.
Exactly, and that's the thing. If he can't run with it, take the belt off him again.
Yep.
It's no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody gives a shit. The ability to pivot when things might change is a very important thing in pro wrestling that a smart booker would know all about.
All right. So
Yes.
next up, we had the War Raiders, the team of Eric and Ivar, who are Vikings, defending the World Tag Team Championship against the New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. The New Day held the record for longest WWE Tag Team Champions of all time. They passed Demolition's record years ago. They've been around for over a decade. So they recently turned heel, recently turned their back on their longtime partner, Big E, and been a heel group since. The ending saw Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods defeating the Viking Raiders, and our second match, our second title change. Thoughts?
Yeah. This match was fine. Like, honestly, that match, you could, like, if you saw that in Raw, you'd be like, fair enough. It wasn't like, whoa, dude, but it also wasn't a stinker.
Yeah.
Like, it was totally fine.
John?
The build was dreadful. Like, there was basically no build-up whatsoever, aside from the New Day saying, we'd like a tag team title match, and then the War Raiders saying, okay.
We should talk about the build-up for some of these matches on the way up.
Sure.
It's not been great. I actually I was at a house show about a month before WrestleMania, and the New Day versus the War Raiders was one of the matches. And on the way in, the New Day grabbed a sign from a kid that said New Day sucks, and they ripped it up and threw it into the crowd. Just as the match was about to start, they were standing on the apron, they ripped up the sign, threw it in the crowd, and Xavier's in the ring. Kofi turns his back on the audience, and then the kids in the crowd crumple up the pieces of paper and throw it back at Kofi. And Kofi sells it like he's just been fucking hit with a bullet. He just, like, he's all like, oh, what the fuck? Xavier, the match has just started. The bell is just rung. Xavier sprints and, like, slides out of the ring and grabs the head of security and drags him over and goes, throw that kid out. The head of security is like, I mean, I guess I gotta throw you. He ends up, like, fucking yapping at this kid for like 10 minutes. It was beautiful. I wish they'd done that.
Yeah.
Because that's heel stuff, and I know it's house show stuff where you can play around with it. But I'd like to see a lot more of that fun heely New Day, because they are good at it.
Yeah.
They're very good at getting that heel heat. They can do it. Like I said, I thought that match was just fine.
Yeah.
It was okay. Yeah, I did appreciate the sort of Giant Gonzalez tribute to their gear as well, the New Day.
They always do well with gear.
I didn't see that, and I'm terrified to see it now. Giant Gonzalez tribute.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I mean, the big glaring weak spots at WWE forever, probably since the New Generation. I would give the New Generation, because honestly, the tag team titles were just passed around haphazardly in the Attitude Era. Is the tag team division. They don't really do too much with them. The SmackDown tag titles weren't even on WrestleMania this year, were they?
No,
they're doing a TLC match on SmackDown.
Yeah. So I mean, case in point there.
Well, the thing I will say about this is the build to War Raiders versus New Day is kind of just these are one of them's the champions and the other one is the other team, right? It doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of other, like, proper tag teams on Raw at the moment.
Yeah.
SmackDown tag titles, I will say, they feel like they put more excitement into it.
Because they've had that trio deal with the Motor City Machine Guns, DIY, and the Street Profits for the last few months.
Yes.
So I was surprised of the two tag divisions, why is the Raw one getting on WrestleMania and not the SmackDown one?
I agree. It felt weird.
Especially
I
if they're
would have
going to
done
do
that
TLC.
because
You could have put a TLC match on WrestleMania and it would have been perfect. There was always a big ladder match on WrestleMania for years.
Long time. I think they just wanted a good big match to put on the show after WrestleMania to go. You like WrestleMania? Stick around for this because there's still good stuff coming up.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree. I would have done that on WrestleMania instead, and that would have been because there was a tag team ladder match at WrestleMania last year
Yeah.
where both the belts, which was a lot of fun.
All right, so next matchup is Jade Cargill versus Naomi. This was a grudge match between the two women. Jade Cargill, several months ago, was one half of the women's tag team champions with Bianca Belair. She turned up, beat up in a parking lot, disappeared for a few months, came back at the Elimination Chamber, beat the living hell out of Naomi, and Naomi ended up revealing that she had been the person that attacked Jade Cargill, leading to this match happening. Thoughts on Jade
Mm-hmm.
Cargill versus Naomi?
I think all of us could have seen that coming, right?
Mhm.
Naomi, Jade Cargill mysteriously disappears. Naomi steps in to be the new tag
New
partner.
tag team partner, yeah.
Like, who could have,
would've
Sherlock
thought?
Holmes, like, I just can't figure it out.
Playing a violin, doing cocaine, trying to figure out the mystery.
He was a crazy cat. That match clearly had some build to it. That's the storyline that's been going on for quite a while. That match itself was okay.
Yeah.
I heard a lot of people say it was terrible. I don't think it was terrible. It wasn't like fantastic though.
Well,
You know.
yeah, I mean, Cargill is somebody that has limitations, but she looks like a superstar. So that's always going
Right.
to count.
Mhm.
You could just have her. I mean, I get it because you want to make Naomi look, but you have Jade Cargill go in there and beat somebody up in 3 minutes, and nobody would be like, "What the fuck?" Like,
Yeah.
they would go, "That's Jade Cargill." That's not necessarily a bad thing. Trying to get them to go too long is tricky with somebody like Jade Cargill who doesn't still has a lot of kinks to work out from her time in AEW. It seems because she's not super good at like
She was
chaining
wrestling maybe
together.
once or twice a month for a couple of years, and that's not enough time to.
But it was all squash stuff. It was
Yeah.
all like done, done, done. It was never like a 10-minute match or whatever.
Yeah.
So she doesn't seem super good at like chaining stuff together or like logically going to the next bit. And you would have hoped that in the time she's been in the WWE, she would have worked that out. Because that's been a year and a half now.
For a year? No, I think it's been a little longer than a year and a half. Regardless, John, do you have any thoughts on Cargill versus Naomi?
Well, I'm glad it wasn't like a 3-minute squash because I think Naomi's been doing such good work since she turned heel. Like her promos have been by far some of the best stuff she's ever done in WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's considering her character was just sort of the smiley dancer for so long.
Yeah.
She's got like a real edge to her now. And so I think if she'd been squashed, that would have done her, no favors whatsoever going forward. Whereas at least he got to look competitive against Jade Cargill, even though everyone knew Jade was most likely going to win that match because she's, the bigger deal in the grand scheme of things, I guess.
Yeah.
But it at least gives something to Naomi that she can sort of build on, I guess, going forward.
Okay. Next up, we have LA Knight defending the United States Championship against Jacob Fatu, the Samoan Werewolf. Jacob Fatu has been in the WWE for under a year now, about a year now actually, because he turned up a couple of weeks after WrestleMania last year. So
yes,
yeah,
Fatu is amazing. Has been since I saw him in MLW when he was part of Contra unit. And was like 75 pounds heavier. So, I know LA Knight is very popular with Dylan. Dylan, did you have any issues with LA Knight dropping the United States title to Jacob Fatu?
Nope, not at all. I thought that that puts Fatu over really well. Knight's a credible United States champion by now. We've seen him do a lot of good work. And to have him lose WrestleMania is a big deal. And I thought Jacob Fatu did a great job. This match was really fun. I really liked this match a lot. Those two guys worked really well together, and I just thought it was a lot of fun. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
not a ton of build up if you're being critical about it,
Yeah.
but fun match. So,
John, any thoughts?
Yeah, and they had like a couple of good moments as well, like Fatu's moonsault countered into a BFT. And they seem to have like pretty good chemistry together.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, like pretty much all the matches on this show so far, like it was a good sort of fun match. Nothing too spectacular or like mind blowing or anything, but
yeah,
it's pretty decent. Like nothing bad about it whatsoever, and the right guy won. And clearly Jacob Fatu has got huge star potential in the
yeah.
future as well. So this feels like a good sort of starting point, really.
So
Yeah.
we had 3 title matches and 3 title changes. Up next, to see if that trend will. Well, actually, no, it's not up next. Up next is the recently debuted Rey Fenix, big deal in AAA, which is a Lucha Libre promotion out of Mexico that is now owned by the WWE, which was announced earlier that night, against El Grand Americano. Which, are you guys familiar with what an Americano is? I'm not sure
Yeah,
if you're
it's a
big
drink.
coffee. Yeah, I'm not sure if you're big
Yeah,
coffee drinkers.
coffee.
Yeah, it's an
Yeah.
espresso with water. So just a watered down espresso. I don't know why El Gran Americano is. Yeah. Anyway, who may or may not be the leader of American-made Chad Gable under a mask. We don't know for sure. But
No, he isn't. What are you talking about?
yeah.
Why
So
would you even say that?
I'm just saying, we it may or may not be. It may or may not be several people. It may or may not be, Xavier Woods coming out for a second match of the night. It may
Could be
or
loads of people.
yeah,
Come on.
it may or may not be,
I reckon it's D'Lo
Naomi.
Brown.
Ah,
It
man,
could be D'Lo Brown.
you're looking at the real deal now. God,
Oh, what?
sorry. So anyway,
You're very excited over D'Lo Brown.
I do enjoy D'Lo Brown. Anyway, yes, we have Rey Fenix versus El Gran Americano, non-title match. El Gran Americano has been basically working his way through luchadors since arriving in the WWE, and Rey Mysterio, who big deal in Lucha Libre and the WWE, had handpicked Rey Fenix to be the person to face Americano, correct? Yes, no?
I think so. It's supposed to be Rey
Basically,
Mysterio.
yeah, he injured his groin on SmackDown. Apparently,
Listen, we've all been there.
I guess he took a football to the groin.
That'll do it.
Old Mole Man.
That'll do it.
Uh,
He's as old as Mole Man. now.
yeah, it's a shame.
Come on, now.
It's a
No need for
shame
that.
that Rey Fenix is losing pretty clean in like one of his first WWE matches.
I mean,
Like,
was it clean though?
well, he did. No, I guess it wasn't
No,
because he
it
got hit
wasn't
with
clean.
like the loaded
Loaded
mask
mask.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like to have him lose anyway on like a big stage and stuff like this early in, it's I don't know, it kind of undercuts how special they can make him seem when he's already losing matches like that. But I guess it's not the end of the world, and I think for the benefit of the story as well, El Grand Americano, like he was clearly going to beat Rey Mysterio
Yeah.
if Rey had been healthy. So he kind of had to win this match. So it is what it is. But it was like still a fun match though. The two played off each other really well. And it didn't overstay its welcome. So
Yep.
Yeah, I
stuff.
agree with a lot of that, man. I think that like if he had beat Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania, that would have been a bigger deal. And I feel sorry for Phoenix because he only just arrived like 3 weeks ago. I say that, but I'll just say this: in that he arrived 3 weeks ago, and now here he is at
At
WrestleMania,
yeah.
in a
Yeah,
pretty
I mean,
like
if you look at
important match. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, if you look at Dragon Lee, who was signed by WWE about 2 years ago, maybe a little longer, Dragon Lee is the Speed Champion, which is basically the Twitter championship, where they have like 3-minute matches that they put exclusively on Twitter. So like, it could be a lot worse for him than losing on
well,
WrestleMania, you know?
that's the thing is, because Rey Mysterio got injured on Friday. I assumed that the replacement for him would be Dragon Lee,
Yeah,
because let's be honest, they're not afraid to have Dragon Lee lose a match.
yeah.
And I'm like,
Mhm.
that wouldn't be a bad thing at all for Dragon Lee to get on WrestleMania, lose to this. It's part of the story.
Maybe
I
get
would
a
have
little
done
more
that
over.
over Ray Phoenix.
Yeah.
The thing with Ray Phoenix is you're clearly trying to get that guy over quickly. I would have done Dragon Lee instead of Ray Phoenix, but at the same time, Phoenix did a good job. I don't think he looks like a chump for losing to El Grande Americano, because, like we said, there was some shenanigans involved. It wasn't a clean victory. And they've been working the storyline for a bit. So I think he's going to get his win back again.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not the end of the story. So yeah, I thought it was a fun match. Sure.
So
But, not a bad one so far.
So, next up, another championship match, which I was trying to allude to earlier, for the WWE Women's Championship. Tiffany Stratton defending against Charlotte Flair. This match had a lot of. It had a unique build, to say the very least, where um, there was some awkward in-ring moment or in-ring talking segments where maybe people said some things that they shouldn't have said and upset some people legitimately. Uh, but did you think that came together in the ring or not? Because I saw pictures of Tiffany Stratton afterwards. She got her teeth chipped and definitely took some stiff shots.
She says she didn't get her teeth chipped.
Yeah.
All right, that
She
picture.
posted a picture afterwards, and it
Was
showed
it
her
just-
smiling, and
was
it
it
looked
just
like
an
all her
awkward photo?
teeth were in.
She posted a video of her showing off her teeth.
Was it just an awkward photo then? Because it looked like she had
No.
her teeth chipped.
I don't know if it was her gums or something, but something bleed. Maybe she got a busted lip or something. Something in her mouth was bleeding, and that was absolutely a case of somebody being a little bit too stiff.
A little snug.
Mhm.
A little snug.
But to their credit, the way in the shitty haphazard build that they had done for that match, if that match hadn't been some kind of fucking knockout, drag out brawl, if they hadn't have been just like clobbering each other, it wouldn't have made any sense. They realized that with the weird way they booked that show, and they've been building to that match, they kind of had to just start throwing hands. And to her credit, Tiffy did a great job.
Yep.
She held her own against Charlotte Flair, who, let's be honest, has a bit of a habit of
being a little snug.
Kind of going into the business for herself.
A little snug.
And making it all about Charlotte, and Tiffy did a great job. I honestly thought Charlotte was going to win, because historically, if you bet against Charlotte at WrestleMania,
yeah, it doesn't go well.
You're probably going to lose money. And so I was super happy to see Tiffy win. Super happy. I think she's got a great upside. And I think she held her own here.
She's got a good look.
It wasn't the greatest match.
Yeah.
She does have a great look. I loved her entrance. Her entrance was great.
Oh, the Barbie entrance, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Barbie, yeah, I love that. Beautiful. That's what WrestleMania is about, these fun entrances and stuff. It's not about the wrestling. Fuck that shit. That. But she looked like a star. And that's something that I think would happen on the build up to that match. She didn't look that good on the way there, but at the pinnacle of it, she did. And I'm very happy with her,
So, John, thoughts?
I think, well, with Charlotte, like, we've sort of talked about this before, but she's basically had no evolution whatsoever over the last 10 years. She's always been the same character, and she's always
Ric Flair's daughter.
carried herself the same way. She's
Yes.
always in and around the title picture, and it's like, if she had won the title here, it would have been such a like boring way to go, just like reverting back to the like
Same
standard,
old.
and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm so glad that they didn't go that route, because it would have probably derailed Tiffany as well, like especially after the build up being so all over the place and pretty wild and whatnot. Like I think it would have done Tiffany Stratton no favors whatsoever to lose. So they made the right decision. The match itself was hard hitting and kind of wild and all over the place, and not like a perfect match by any stretch, but it was still, entertaining enough. And you
Yeah.
kind of felt the sort of hatred between them as well. So
Yeah.
that
Right.
was a good plus for me.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know
you
that
could feel like the tension going in.
one of the big complaints I've seen in some storylines that try to build themselves as big blood feuds is that you have all these heated escalations for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then they start the matchup grappling. And it's like, well, why would
Yes.
you do that? Why wouldn't you just charge each other and just swing for the fences? Was that the situation here where they just immediately went to war? Or was there like a slow
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh no, they absolutely went straight at it as soon as the bell rang.
Yep. So that's how you do it right. So, do you think that the reason why they had all the title changes at the front half of the show was to build up to the fact that there was not going to be a title change towards the end? Because this was the last title match of the night. Because the main event was not for a title, unless you want to call Paul Heyman a championship. But
I
the
do.
yep. So I've always been of the feeling that when you have these big events, fans always cheer for the title changes, so you want to give them as many as you can.
Hmm. Right. And so if you want people to cheer for Tiffy, keep the belt on her
Yeah.
and put her like away from the other ones. I mean, that's certainly a possibility. Um, I don't know. Maybe.
So our main event of the evening was a triple threat between Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk. Punk was accompanied to the ring by Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman, a longtime friend of Punk going back to their days in Ohio Valley Wrestling. Although Paul normally is associated with Roman Reigns as the tribal chief's wise man. So I heard that this was obviously the match of the night. What were your thoughts?
Well, first of all, Living Color played CM Punk down to the ring,
Mm-hmm.
so that's important.
Should be
Great
noted,
entrance.
I am not a fan of that song.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking hate it.
Put that on the list of stuff Corey hates.
Yep. It's
That's at least 3.
I got a long list.
One of these episodes is going to be just a big us talking about the stuff
The
Corey
list of
hates
Corey hates,
and
yeah.
how we don't. For a lot of them, we don't agree.
Next
I
time,
agree with
next
the
time I go to the
thing, but-
moon, I'll send you guys the list, and you guys can just have an episode where you're just going through the list.
Okay, I think that's fair. Oh, you don't even want to be here when it happens. You
Well,
have
I'm
to
just
run
saying
off
it'll
to the
give
moon.
you something to do, so you don't talk about Katy Perry the whole time. Apparently.
Howard, listen, she was with you. That's why we were. That's why we were talking.
I'm
about
a
Katy
rebound
Perry.
after, yeah. Well, I mean, after her relationship with Russell Brand, I feel like I'm not exactly a step down. So we got that going for me.
You know what's pretty funny about this is this episode is coming out before that episode.
Yeah, by a couple of weeks, about a month actually. So this is gonna make
Nobody's gonna know
no
what this
fucking
means.
sense. So
Nope.
that might get cut. Regardless, so the build up to this match was probably the best build up of all the matches of WrestleMania
Great.
that I've seen so far. A lot of the back. I mean,
Great
you have
build-up.
3 great talkers: Rollins, Reigns, and Punk. They can talk for hours and hours, and it will never get boring. So a lot of
Right.
this was, Seth having a grudge against Punk for years now, doing whatever he can to sabotage Punk's career. Punk being the very divisive person that he is, and Roman Reigns kind of cementing himself as the top dog, even though he doesn't have a belt right now. And
Well, there was layers to it. So
these
obviously
clashes
Rollins and Punk had that problem. But Rollins and Reigns have a issue from the Shield.
long time
Punk,
problem.
Punk and Reigns have that issue with Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
So there is these unbelievable, like surprisingly like deep layers to this match. That's why it's been such a good build, because when it happened, when they were talking about doing it, I was like, why would these three guys wrestle? And then as they pulled it off, you're like, all right, they've twisted and turned it enough to make me go, I dig it. I'm on board with this. This is really good. If you can't have Roman Reigns fight The Rock, this is absolutely the next best thing. If not better than Roman Reigns fighting The Rock. Whenever the last week or two before WrestleMania was all about Paul Heyman not knowing should he go with Roman Reigns or CM Punk, I knew he's gonna go with Rollins. Right? It's got to be what's happening.
Yeah.
They're not talking about Rollins here. That's because they're gonna swerve and have him go with Rollins. Which is what happened. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
They did it perfectly.
So yeah,
and
Heyman,
as you would imagine, with those four fucking guys involved, they pulled it off like
Heyman
smooth.
arguably the best manager since Bobby the Brain Heenan. Of course, played his role perfectly well the whole time, riding that fence between Punk and Reigns, being in that awkward kind of babyface that he can be. Because, I mean, Heyman's really shines as a slimy heel. Has since the early 90s when he was running the Dangerous Alliance in WCW. But, so, of course, he handed a steel chair to Punk to take care of a problem. Ended up low-blowing Punk when he had his back turned. Handed the chair to Reigns, let Reigns beat the hell out of Punk with a chair, low-blowed Reigns, and then handed the chair to Seth Rollins so that he could finish the job. And that was, of course, how it all came to, with Heyman kind of being that decisive factor that they all thought he was going to be, but just not in the way they expected.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like such a weird pairing, though, Heyman and Seth Rollins, because
I agree.
Rollins is such a outlandish character in terms of the stuff he wears to the ring, and
he's sort
his
of
over the top line deliveries and stuff. And
he's a modern day Macho
he
Man.
feels like, yeah, but I don't think his personality meshes well with Paul Heyman's personality. Like, Paul Heyman seems a lot more sort of reserved, and well, maybe not reserved. Maybe that's the wrong word. But he's he's more of a thoughtful guy, whereas Rollins is just loud and obnoxious.
So this is a bit of a, I don't want to say it's a spoiler, but I mean, the following Monday, they revealed that Braun Breaker was involved now in this too. That makes more sense of Heyman managing Breaker and letting Rollins handle his stuff on his own. You still present them as a trio, but Heyman's going to be more of the ringside piece for Rollins and not necessarily a talker, I would assume.
Yeah, see, that makes more sense, because when you see, that was the thing, when you see this happen, like, you could see it happening, but you're also like, why would Rollins need Heyman in his corner? It's kind of like whenever Punk and Heyman were together, you're like, Punk's the best talker in the game. He doesn't need the second best talker in the game. But that didn't matter. That it was the fact that they were together was electric. It just worked. It was fun. And it's the same thing here. It's like Seth doesn't need Paul Heyman. The fact that they're together is just going to work out really well. And adding Braun Breaker into that match into the storyline was a really good idea. Really, really good idea, because we'll talk about Braun Breaker pretty soon.
Yeah.
But it gives him something to do, and it gives him they're very high on Braun Breaker, which I like. He's great, man. That guy.
So WrestleMania Night 1 ends with the bad guy standing tall. Will that be the case on WrestleMania Night 2? WrestleMania Night 2, of course, was the following day on April the 20th. 420, smoke 'em if you got 'em. We started the night with another triple threat that had a good build-up for the Women's World Championship. Io Sky defended against the pairing of Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. The build-up for this one I felt was a little redundant. There were a lot of weeks where it just seemed like Bianca and Rhea were bickering, and then Io would get involved. to kind of prove that she wasn't you shouldn't look over her because she's so small. And then there would be some dives to the outside, or someone would get slapped and powerbombed through a thing. But it felt really like a redundant build. And I know it made some people sour on Rhea a little bit because Rhea was kind of, I don't know. Do you think like they were trying to push Rhea as a tweener in the fact that like she was kind of being a brat? I mean, she had lost the women's title to Io Sky clean. There was no chicanery, no shenanigans, and she kind of acted like a petulant child about it.
Yeah.
I think they're setting the seeds for a heel turn, because a heel would be very upset that they lost the championship and would blame somebody else for that loss, which is what Rhea did. I also think that she's kind of justified in that, like, why did Io Shirai get that title shot to begin with? Right, Bianca Belair won the Royal Rumble.
No,
or
she
whatever.
won the Elimination Chamber.
She won
the Elimination Chamber,
right?
Charlotte won the Royal Rumble.
Right, so Bianca Belair won the Elimination Chamber, so that guarantees her that match at WrestleMania. But why was Io Shirai supposed to fight Rhea Ripley the day after that on Raw? Like, what was the, you know what I mean? Where did that come in? So I can see why Bianca would be like, why are you involved with this? I can see why Rhea would be like, I should be fighting Bianca, I shouldn't be fighting you. Where does this come in? You know what I mean? I thought that was weird. When it happened, I was like, I'm sure a lot of other people were like, this is going to be Rhea Ripley versus Bianca. This is a one-on-one match that we have been eager to see. I wasn't super happy with them changing the belt like that and putting on Io. As it went on, I've enjoyed it a lot because I really like Io Shirai.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know you're a fan of Io Sky.
I thought that she did a very good job with what she was given. And the way you were talking about the build-up, again, maybe this is just me being a smart and like eagle eyes or whatever, but as the build-up was going on, you're like, Io Shirai's going to win because she's been treated, the two people that are the main event in this triple threat match are Bianca and Rhea. Io's been put on the back burner. She's going to win. She's going to prove everybody wrong. And I thought that when it started off, this didn't seem like a good idea. It should have been Rhea versus Bianca. And then I think we could all agree, once the match was over, we were all like, that was the right call.
Yeah.
That's fucking ripped.
Ripped.
That match, people are saying that's the best opening match at WrestleMania. I've heard some people say it's the best match at WrestleMania. I don't know if that's true, but like, that match was fucking awesome. It was so good.
Yeah.
So
I'd say it's one of the best women's matches in WWE, period.
Yeah. Just fucking wall to wall, 3 pros. Like, keep those guys in the crosshairs, right? Sure. Do Bianca versus Rhea next year because you've got that build up of this year, but keep those 3 women like tip top of that division because they're gonna carry that for a long time. And if it's those 3 guys in charge of that company, like that division, with sweet hands, dude. Yeah. Oh, so much fun.
So as you alluded to, Io Sky was successful in her title defense. Our second match was, I forgot this was on the show, period, but this was Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre in a Sin City street fight. So
how could you forget this match?
Well, so we'll talk about how Damian Priest is kind of a forgettable person for me. I don't see.
6'7" tall.
He's a very big man. We know this to be true, but he seems as dull as dishwater to me a lot of the time, and I felt that way ever since he was in Ring of Honor when he was Punishment Martinez, which was a better fucking name than Damian Priest. I mean, come on, Punishment Martinez.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, right? You remember that fucking name.
But also, if you look at that guy, you're like, yeah, that's a Punishment Martinez right there.
Yeah.
You said he was kind of bland, but like, it looks like he beat the shit out of you. You know?
Well, yeah, I mean, he just, like I said, there's just something about him something's missing. I mean, they put a world title on him because he's who Gunther defeated to win the title. But I always felt like there's something missing with Priest. Meanwhile, you have Drew McIntyre, who's been doing the best work of his career for the last, like, what, year or two?
Yeah.
Really found his own as just that smart ass, Scotsman.
Smart ass Scotsman, that's what they call him.
Yep, the smart ass Scotsman.
On the
Yeah.
t-shirts.
Yep, all the t-shirts say that. I also, what is it? People refer to him as DM Hunk because his Twitter game is really strong, as the kids say.
Yes. Well, he proved that in this match. He did some more social
Yeah.
media shenanigans. Where was this his brother that was ringside?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, his brother. He just took a phone off his brother and then went and took a selfie of himself, by Damian Priest's downed body on the ringside. Took a picture. Like, what do you think of this? And you're like, that guy never misses a trick, man. He's one of those guys that like maximizes his minutes. If he's got time out there, he will make the most of it. Now, this match had build. There's history there between McIntyre and Priest because there was a match, Clash of the Castle last year,
Yeah.
which was McIntyre versus Priest, and McIntyre would have won the belt if it wasn't for some wonderfully timed interference from CM Punk. I love that whole angle, but you could see that there was like clearly unfinished business there. Priest won that match, and then it would make sense if McIntyre was to win this match. But also, like you said, the role McIntyre's been on, he needed a good, cool ass win at WrestleMania, and he got one. I thought this match was fun. I'm not a huge fan of like crazy ass fucking weapons matches, but they did a good job with this one. It wasn't like too insane, but just insane enough where you're like, oh dude, this is fun, got into it. Yeah.
So John, did you
I
have
liked it.
any thoughts on this one, Damian Priest or McIntyre?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, again, like, it pretty much has been said already, really. Like, I thought it was a fun match. He didn't do too much, like, too over the top or anything, but, like, it all made sense and it all felt, like, quite fresh as well. Like, some of the way they were using the weapons and whatnot. And the finish itself, where he hit the Claymore, where Priest's head was against a chair, sort of wedged in the corner. That was a cool visual right there. But yeah, I think the most important thing is the right person won this. And for Drew, like, he's had a hell of a year, but he hasn't always been winning matches, or at least the big matches, which matter the most. So it was good to see him get that kind of win on a stage like WrestleMania, and hopefully that sets him up for, more big stuff as the year progresses.
All right, so next up we have another title match. Braun Breaker, the reigning defending Intercontinental Champion, was defending it in a fatal four-way against Pentagon, or sorry, he's just Penta in WWE. Which maybe because they own AAA, he'll go back to being Pentagon Jr. because I feel like that is a better name than Penta. I don't know. Penta, it seems too short for me. At least it's not.
Pentagon is just a fucking shape. Like,
well,
what
yeah,
the fuck does that mean?
But that's what he's been. I mean, it's better than
Penta. Shape.
It's better than Penta L0M, as he was in
Correct.
AEW.
Correct.
So anyway, against Penta, Finn Balor, and Dominic Mysterio. Thoughts on this one?
Well, I thought going into this, if it was just Braun Breaker versus Penta, which I would have been happy with, Penta's gonna win, right? But once they started making a fatal four-way, again, my little smart eyes are working away. I'm like, Dominic's gonna win because that's gonna create tension with him and Finn Balor.
Yeah, and that's for context. For context, Dominic Mysterio and Finn Balor are part of a team referred to as Judgment Day, with Finn as the leader and Dominic kind of the Weasley not junior member, but member underneath Finn's leadership.
So have him like slip. A fatal four-way is perfect for him to like slip away with the belt properly, winning it. Braun Breaker doesn't have to get pinned to lose the belt.
Yeah.
It has a built-in storyline with Dominic and Finn's already built in, but Penta's are clearly in the mix. You can clearly see that there's an opportunity for Penta and Dominic Mysterio to fight later. That's what I imagine is going to happen.
Yeah.
Is Penta's going to be the one that beats Dominic Mysterio. This match didn't have a huge amount of build to it in terms of some of the other matches, but the build that it did have made sense, and I was on board with it.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be more. There's going to be more fallout to this one than there was build up because of the aspect of the Finn and Dominic thing. Because Dominic won by pinning Finn, so he pinned his own leader of his stable. So obviously that's going to create tension. Keeps Penta strong because Penta is still new to WWE as well. He's only been there for a few months, a little bit longer than his brother Rey Fenix. It keeps Braun Breaker strong because he can lose the title without getting pinned, as you mentioned. I mean, it feels like it was perfectly orchestrated.
Yeah, dude, I was super into this match, and it was again another fun match.
Really
fun.
Like the first match, really sort of fast paced and like they didn't really let up at all throughout the whole. I think it's only like 10 minutes long, but it felt like it, flew by because they were just going at it so hard.
Yeah.
And Braun Breaker especially is just such a fun guy to watch because he's such a freak athlete. Like the way he moves is incredible.
Well, it's like watching his dad and his uncle back in the late 80s, early 90s when the Steiners were just, tossing people around. Because that was like the big deal because he has that ungodly amount of strength like his dad and uncle did. Because I remember the Steiners would throw the Road Warriors around, and that was such an off-putting experience for Hawk and Animal because they were the guys that threw people around. So yeah, Breaker definitely has that same level there, and they're clearly high on him.
He has crazy strength, but he also has crazy speed.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean the build up to this match, that spear that he hit on Carlito, where he somehow managed to spear him and land on his feet. Where it's like, what the fuck? He hit him so hard he did a front flip and landed on his feet. What the fuck?
He fucking killed Carlito. Yeah. Lots of fun, dude. All four of those guys, you can do a lot with them, and they did. I thought that was a really fun match.
And it's nice to see Dominic get his flowers as well.
For some reason,
considering he's been one of the best heels over the last few years.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. He's been one of the best heels, and by doing absolutely nothing, the crowd fucking loved it.
Yeah.
Like they were on board to see this guy win. And he's been the best heel for 2 years, and he has not changed at all. He's still a horrible person.
In fact, he got worse.
Love him now.
Like when he turned on Rhea Ripley, he got worse, and people were still
so much worse.
Yeah.
He's getting so much worse, and you all love him now. Like, are you guys okay? I mean, I think it's part of them just respecting the hard work he's put in. Like, oh yeah, give him the belt. But I'm like, it would have been nice if you could respect the business a bit and fucking boo that guy, because he's supposed to be a horrible heel.
Yeah, but we had some of that in the main event as well, which we'll get to, where the fans turned on Cody Rhodes for no reason whatsoever. But,
we will get to that. Yeah, I'm sure we have some stuff to say about that.
All right. Well, next up was a bit of an unexpected match. Randy Orton was originally slotted to face Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens had to drop out due to some neck injuries that a lot of people are alluding may or may not be career-ending. But
seems pretty serious.
Yeah. To make the most of a bad situation, he had an open challenge, and the open challenge was answered by the TNA World Champion, Joe Hendry. This was a short match, from what I understand, and it was more about Joe Hendry having a big viral moment because the guy's over online. People love him to death. Thoughts on Joe Hendry and getting this opportunity against Randy Orton?
Real quick, John, let me ask you this. Once it was announced that Kevin Owens wasn't going to be there, who did you think the replacement wrestler was going to be?
Well, at first I thought it was going to be Nick Aldis from the promo Randy Orton did on the SmackDown after. But then, they kind of didn't make too many more moves in that direction, and I thought it would have been weird if Nick
Yeah.
Aldis had just
They'd have
sort
to
of walked
build up.
out
They'd have
at
to build up
WrestleMania.
Aldis a little bit more for it to come out and be that.
Yeah,
And I say that I'm a big Nick
and
Aldis fan, and
so
so I would love to see Nick Aldis wrestle again after he's been the general manager of SmackDown for about a year or so.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but yeah, I had no idea who this was going to be. Like I was geared up for disappointment, and in the end, I was very much not disappointed by what happened. So kudos to them for doing something genuinely surprising, and it was everything that it needed to be as well. Like it didn't need
Right.
to
Didn't need to be a long match.
like go 15 minutes or whatever. No, not at all. It was all about like the pop and the entrance and Joe Hendry getting to do his little mannerisms on that stage. And yeah,
Yeah.
it totally succeeded.
Well,
I
and Joe
agree.
and
I thought it was going to be all this because just the way they've been teasing it. But what on the day, I thought what they're going to do is they're going to have all this come out as if he's going to wrestle, and then go, it's actually this guy. And they didn't do that, which I thought was surprising because that would have been a great tease.
yeah, and there was no shortage of people it could have been. I mean, Jeff Cobb from New Japan has been rumored to be going to the WWE when his contract there is done and over with. But he was actually in Japan on the 19th, so that would have been insane for him to fly to Las Vegas and wrestle a match. Malachi
The
Black,
Hulk Hogan.
yeah, Malachi Black is supposedly going to be back soon. Rusev is back because he just turned up on Raw, so it could have been Rusev as well. So to have it be Hendry was a bit of a surprise. Also, I mean, Hendry's made the most of every appearance he's been in the WWE. Every time he showed up in NXT several times, and it always did really good numbers. He showed up in the Royal Rumble, and that got tons of views online. So people love Joe Hendry.
I saw somebody say it was rumored that Jeff Hardy could have been the guy to replace Kevin Owens.
I don't
I don't know how
think
legit that is.
I don't think you would want to see Jeff Hardy in a singles capacity anymore. Like the Hardys,
No,
both
not right
their
now.
hips and their hips and knees are so shot. They're totally fine doing tag matches because it keeps the load soft for both of them. But yeah, I don't think you want to see
Yes.
Jeff Hardy in a singles match in 2025.
I reckon you could squeeze out a marquee WrestleMania match next year with the Hardy Boys in a tag team match.
Yeah.
I don't think Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton in 2025 would have been that good of a match. I really liked this match. I know it wasn't very long. I just thought it was fun. The fucking ending was perfect.
Yeah.
Good God,
Well,
they
and
did
that's
that so well.
and that's the thing about Randy Orton's finish, the RKO. For years, it has been built up as it's an out of nowhere finish. The match can end at any time as soon as Randy hits it. So, I mean, it's totally fine that the match went 3 minutes because Randy hit that move, and
Yeah,
everybody knows it. It's
there's
established.
so much to that. Why I saw some people, even Stevie Richards was like,
Yeah,
I
I
think
saw that too.
I don't want to besmirch Stevie Richards, who I love. He's wrong about this. Listen, man, Randy Orton has been in the game for fucking ever, right? Joe Hendry didn't know he was gonna fight Randy Orton. Joe Hendry has had no experience at WrestleMania. Randy Orton is a 13-time world heavyweight champion, right? This outcome does not at all bury Joe Hendry, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that it makes Orton look like Orton, but I think that Joe Hendry did the best he could against a legitimate champion, right? Not to say that
Yeah.
Joe Hendry isn't a legitimate champion because he's a TNA champion, but you know
Yeah.
what I mean. Like there's more pedigree to Randy Orton than there is to Joe Hendry at the moment, and that's
Yeah.
not a knock on
Well,
Joe Hendry.
and it seems very obvious that as soon as Joe's contract with TNA is up, the obvious move is he's going to go to WWE.
Correct.
Mm.
So they're obviously very high on him, and I think that this is just a little showcase to show, look, he can perform at WrestleMania. If you liked him here, you're gonna fucking love him next year. You know what I mean? I don't think this was a detriment to Joe Hendry at all.
No.
I really enjoyed
Well, I
this.
think the only thing that kind of I didn't enjoy that much was Orton hitting the second RKO after the match. Like that was kind of unnecessary.
Well, he gave him the chest pat, the good job, kid, chest pat afterwards.
Yeah.
Because I mean that's also very much in Randy's character as well, as he's kind of a dick, whether he's a face or a heel. He's just an asshole.
It's like Steve Austin, like stunning people all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he'll take a beer and then he'll stun them anyway. You're like, you know what's gonna happen. You know what's gonna happen, right?
Yeah. I always enjoyed those Steve Austin moments where like the other person knows it's gonna happen, but they have to go through with it, and you kind of like see it in their face. They're like, "Yeah, this is gonna suck, but I gotta do it."
It's always good whenever like he gives the beer to the guy.
Yeah.
And he's the guy chugging the beer, and then there's a bit where he's almost finished the beer, and he's like, I know what happened. I know he kind of like puts it down, and Austin's like, well, and then stunners him.
I gotta do it.
But what I really liked about Steve Austin is whenever he drove his
ATV
quad bike. Oh no, not even the one you're thinking of. To totally pass the fucking entrance ramp, and then get lost underneath the entrance ramp, and then needed like 3 guys to guide him back, and then he had to go back up the ramp, and then down the ramp, and then all the way around, and then he hits some fucking woman in the barricade.
Well, yeah, he hits the barricade, and the barricade knocks the woman back. So
that woman did not get hit by that barricade.
No, absolutely not. She got scared. She got scared.
Total bullshit.
She took a bump.
She took a bump. If she's going to take a bump,
WrestleMania.
If she's going to take a bump, she may as well have just taken a stunner.
Just a crisp flat back bump.
You may as well have just stunnered her, right?
All right. Well, I think we talked about Joe Hendry versus Randy Orton longer than the match itself lasted.
At some point,
Oh,
Austin comes out.
Yeah.
The reason we're talking about this, at some point, Steve Austin comes out to say the attendance is like 60,000 or whatever, 120,000 for 2 nights. He comes out in a quad bike and then tries to drive away. Is it before or after?
I think he hits.
It's after. He's driving away, isn't it?
Yeah, it was right before the main event.
So he's trying to drive away, and then he like fucking loses control of the bike and hits the barricade, and some woman is like, whoa, like that, which is just cowardly. Like he wasn't going that fast.
No. Well, so let's get back into. You have a thought you want to finish?
I couldn't remember what the match order was. I couldn't remember if that Austin bit happened after that match or after the next match.
It's 2 matches from now. So we got this match that we're about to talk about, and then the one after. So the match mentioned earlier is we had AJ Styles versus social media star Logan Paul, who has now been doing some of the WWE for about a year, a little bit more than a year.
Long,
about a year or 2?
More like 2 or 3 years now.
2 or 3 years, I'd say.
Yeah. So we have Logan Paul versus AJ Styles, Karrion Kross involved in that as well, but not in the match itself. Logan Paul is one of the most, I will say that,
irritating.
Yeah, there are people who love him, obviously, because he wouldn't have the millions of subscribers to the various social media platforms if they didn't. But he's also a very detestable human being who is basically just manipulates people for money. So one of those things he's manipulated people for money is he's used his natural athletic prowess to become a professional wrestler sometimes.
I mean, wouldn't you say that manipulating people for money is exactly what pro wrestling's all about?
Sure.
Yeah.
We just talked about the marks, right?
So what was the I know the build up for this involved Karrion Kross and a lot of him trying to convince AJ Styles to like do whatever it takes to beat Logan Paul for the pride of professional wrestling and pro wrestlers. But like, what were your thoughts on the match itself? Because like you said, AJ Styles is one of the best ever. And Logan Paul is, like you said, a very naturally gifted athlete who took to wrestling very easily.
It's frustrating how good Logan Paul is. It's so irritating because he's such an irritating person anyway.
Yes.
For him to be so like naturally good at this, and as a heel, it's so much more irritating because he's got so much to work with. It's so easy for him to go, "I'm the best at this," because he's probably
up
correct.
there.
He's
He's up
very
there.
good. He's very, very good. I mean, he's not the best, but you know what I mean. Like he's taken it so quickly. For a guy that couldn't give a fuck about wrestling at all, like,
Just a cash
to
grab.
be this good at wrestling. Like people, to talk about how good Kurt Angle was in his first year, he had fucking years of being an amateur wrestler.
Yeah.
He knew how to wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
Logan Paul didn't.
Yeah.
Logan Paul was just a fucking douchebag on the internet, and now he's like an incredible pro wrestler. So it's so annoying to have to constantly, after every single Logan Paul match, say that guy's really good.
Yeah.
You put him up there against AJ Styles, who you said one of the best ever.
One of the best ever.
What are you gonna get? What are you gonna get other than a good match, right?
So, John, what are your thoughts on this one?
At one point in the match, Logan Paul hits the craziest lion sort I've ever seen, where he literally springs like 3/4 across the ring, pretty much all the way across, and it's like, how in the hell did he just do that?
No, but it hits it perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely nails it.
Nails it. Like, what the fuck? How?
He is a hell of an athlete, and
he's a freak, dude.
He's very, very good at professional wrestling.
Mm.
Yeah, I think the build-up was non-existent for the most part. Like it was mostly.
I feel like that's why Karrion Kross got
uh,
brought into it, because Logan Paul is one of those guys that shows up very sporadically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm kind of glad that Karrion Kross did get involved, because it gave him a chance to kind of,
Oh yeah,
have
gave him a chance
some
to talk.
part to play in WrestleMania as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's obviously he excels at talking, so let him do that. But the match itself was good. I don't think it was great. I think there was, I don't know, there's something missing from it. Like I think the ending kind of was a bit disappointing as well, because it was just the same old thing that we've seen in so many Logan Paul matches, where one of his like
social media
followers
buddies,
or hangers on, they try and get involved, and that distraction usually ends up helping Logan Paul win matches. So yeah, and then the Karrion Kross thing, he shows up as well and tries to get AJ to do what he needs to do to win the match, and AJ's like, nah, I'm not going to use brass knucks. I'll just beat him on my own.
and then
and obviously it backfires. So that feels like at least it's setting up some story going forward. But like, yeah,
yes.
it was just a like showcase match, I guess.
It was a reason to get Logan Paul on the card, essentially, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
I imagine it's setting up Karrion Kross versus AJ Styles, which I don't have a problem with. It's a good way to get Logan Paul on the card. I agree with you that like the problem I had with this wasn't that it's always Logan Paul's lackeys getting involved because he's a heel, right? That's part of it. But this time, like all you see is like some fucking guy like creeping a lot, like by the apron. He's just like creeping, like, dude. I'm like, who the fuck is this? He's just looked like some regular ass dude, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, who is this? And then the announcers were trying, like, oh, he's his manager or whatever. I don't know. Was it his manager? It was something like that, wasn't it?
I think it's just his friend.
I don't know. It was just some fucking guy, right? And he's just dressed.
Let's see. Jeff. It just says Jeff, a member of Paul's entourage.
Jeff.
Just Jeff.
Correct. Jeff, aka some fucking guy, right? So some fucking guy is like interfering in Logan Paul's WrestleMania match, and the security guards are like, "That's fine."
Yeah, what?
Come on, Jeff.
That's world famous Jeff. I'm not going to get involved with world famous Jeff.
Jeff, because it's different if it's like, like.
Do you remember
last year Logan Paul had the guy dressed up as a prime bottle? That's a reason for that guy to be at ringside. Why was Jeff? Where did he come from? What the fuck?
Do you remember
was he under the ring?
Do you remember a few years ago where the Andre the Giant Battle Royal was at WrestleMania, and Rob Gronkowski was supposed to get in the ring and get involved, but security didn't know who he was, so they just thought it was some fan who jumped the guardrail, and the bravest woman I've ever seen in my entire life grabs this NFL player and is like trying to hold him back while he's trying to explain he's supposed to get involved.
Yes, I do.
We need more security guards like that.
They couldn't stop Jeff, though.
Couldn't stop Jeff.
Couldn't stop
Did you
Jeff.
see?
Nobody could stop
Did you
Jeff.
see? Apparently, Logan Paul offered Stone Cold Steve Austin like $1 million or something to dress up in the Prime bottle, and Stone Cold turned him down.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah.
No.
Jesus Christ.
Too busy
I mean, he
practicing
really
his
wanted to
quad
run
bike.
someone over. Yeah.
Exactly.
Alright.
He's busy trying to run.
So, the penultimate match we have for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship, where Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez of the Judgment Day faced off against, is it, I can never remember the pronunciation of her name, is it Lyra Valkyria?
Valkyria.
Lyra Valkyria, and a mystery partner, because originally her partner was supposed to be Bayley, but Bayley was found beaten up night one, and her mystery partner was revealed to be a returning Becky Lynch. So, this of course led to Becky Lynch and Lyra succeeding. Was Lyra trained by Becky Lynch? I know there was a connection there.
Well, they're both Irish.
I think the
Irish
may
connection.
have gone to the same school, but many years apart.
Yeah, they're
But
members
they
of
kind
the
of
White Hand.
Connected. They kind of connected.
It's an Irish
NXT
mafia in America
Lyra,
back in the 1920s.
Okay, because the Irish Mafia in Ireland, not a thing.
No, when they came over to America, they started a thing in New York.
You could, I mean, if it's Irish Mafia in America, you could call that the American Mafia.
Well, no, these were all immigrants.
In America.
Yes, escaping because of the potato famine.
John, whose fault was that?
Whose fault was the potato
mine.
famine? We're pointing fingers.
You always say that.
100 years later, we're still pointing fingers. But yes.
Listen, man, it's a very sore topic over in Ireland. Let me tell you. It's a real big deal.
So anyway, we have our women's tag team match between Liv and Raquel and Lyra and Becky Lynch. So, thoughts?
Okay. I have something really that annoyed me so much about this. So much.
Okay.
Was that up to this point, I was on a prediction clean sweep. I got every match correct. And I got the main event correct. The only match I got incorrect was this match. And the reason that I picked Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez to win was because they already announced that on NXT 2 days later they were going to fight Gigi Dolan and Stephen Paxley, who were faces.
Yeah.
So I'm like, rest and brain. Obviously the heels are going to win so that they fight the faces, right? No. What happened was, feel-good moment, Becky Lynch comes back, wins the belts with her young protege, Lyra Valkyria. I'm like, oh, that's nice. And then a day later, on Raw, they have a match for no reason.
Rematch.
They lose the belts back.
Rematch clause. There's no reason.
Come on, 24 hours. I'm so annoyed. They lose the belts back to Liv and Raquel, who then go on to defend the championships against the challengers at NXT. And I'm like, guys, couldn't you have just done that at WrestleMania and have me? I've never had a 100% prediction streak. Ever. That was as close as I'm ever going to get. And here's the thing. Everybody was like, the reason that Liv and Raquel are going to win is because Becky Lynch is going to turn on Lyra Valkyria and just fucking beat her up to get that United States Championship offer. And then they did that angle the next day on Raw. And I'm like, oh yeah, it is Intercontinental. But I'm like, you could have just done that on the pay-per-view and let me have my victory.
Do you think the reason why they did it was because of what happens in the main event? We're like, we can't piss them off twice.
I think they just wanted to swerve. I think they wanted to swerve. I think they thought that people would think like I thought, that like they've already announced it's going to be these guys at NXT on Tuesday. I think they wanted something special for the Raw after WrestleMania
Yeah.
on Monday. I think they wanted a title change there as well. So I think those factors came into it. They were like, well, we're going to plan ahead and go, we'll give them something to remember. If you stick around for the whole weekend, you're going to have something to remember. I'm annoyed about that. And to be fair, Lyra Valkyria, I love her fucking entrance with the wings.
Yeah.
You know? Oh, I love that. Great stuff. You got to root for the Irish connection. You got to love that. But I thought the match was good.
John, any thoughts?
It was decent. It wasn't the best tag team match that I've seen Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez have, because I think they've had some absolute bangers over the last couple of months or so, like against some like really good opponents. But this sort of never really felt like it got into that high gear. Like the rematch on Raw was actually probably better than this match, I thought. But I think the thing that sticks out with me is I feel really bad for Bayley that like she ends up missing out on WrestleMania, not because she's legitimately injured, but because of like the whole angle that's being played out with Becky and Lyra. So, Bayley ends up paying the price for that and missing out on the biggest show of the year.
So I do have
which I don't
a
think
few
she
thoughts.
deserves.
I have a few thoughts on that and a couple of other things. So I do want to put across that Liv Morgan has been doing the best work of her career since joining Judgment Day and being paired up with Dominic. She's been phenomenal in that sort of obnoxious role that she's been put in. This is the best use of Raquel Lynch that you're going to get. Not Raquel Lynch, Raquel Rodriguez. They tried really hard to make her a solo thing, and she's just devoid of personality unless paired with Liv. Like that, they work so well together, and this is the best use for her. It's probably going to be. Was it revealed who attacked Bayley, or is it a mystery thing?
It's still a mystery at this point.
So obviously it's going to be Becky Lynch, and I think that's what they're building to is Becky versus Bayley. Because Bayley did an interview recently talking about how she's not viewed on the same level as Charlotte and Becky Lynch.
That's what I was going to say.
Even that feels like it feels a bit too close to the whole Jade Naomi Bianca Belair storyline as well.
That I agree with. My brother said, good old Triple H picking out the same 4 storylines that he always does.
Yep.
But
everybody has a calling
card. Think that Triple H knows 4 storylines, and that's it. But I feel like this is just going to lead to Becky versus Bayley down the line, which I don't hate. No. Obviously you want Bayley to have a WrestleMania storyline or whatever. You remember that pro wrestling is all about storylines and leading to the next bit. It's always about advancing to the next part. And this is just a cog in the wheel to get to Bayley versus.
I mean, Bayley did just win the women. She won the women's world title last WrestleMania as well.
Last year.
So it's not like she's not devoid of opportunities. I think Bayley is just easy to overlook, to be honest with you. There's just something about her that doesn't stick out as well.
But she's so good, though. She's very good.
I mean, she's a good
hand.
And
I think that if you work the program...
Do you think she's got like that Ricky Steamboat thing? Like, Ricky Steamboat,
I don't know.
Awesome wrestler, good hand, can always turn up in the main event, but, like, was never seen on the same level as, like, Ric Flair.
Maybe. I just think if you work Bayley versus Becky Lynch right now, that's going to do wonders for both of them. It'll do a lot for Bayley. I think that's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? And Bayley has been in, like you said, she was WrestleMania last year. She's going to be in WrestleManias again. She's been in WrestleManias before. Having her off one WrestleMania, I don't think is a big deal because it's an angle. It's leading to something else, you know? Anyway, then Stone Cold, like, runs her over.
And Stone Cold Steve Austin. Immediately after this is the Stone Cold Steve Austin bit where he runs over an old lady and then tells everybody, hey, we did really well and a lot of people are here. Isn't that fun?
He didn't. Like he's like, we did it, but you didn't do fucking anything, man.
He hit that woman with an ATV. That's what he did.
He didn't even hit her properly.
No.
Lazy mother. Come on, man.
So next up is the main event, which I imagine will be a maybe a lengthy topic for discussion. Cody Rhodes defends the WWE Championship against John Cena. The build-up for this was a head scratcher, obviously, because it had a great moment and then weeks of kind of confusion and people not being around. So John Cena, of course, turned heel on Cody Rhodes at the Elimination Chamber when The Rock basically wanted Cody to align with him. Cody told him to go fuck himself, quite literally. And John Cena, celebrated and then revealed that he had already been in a partnership with The Rock by kicking Cody in the balls. And then Travis Scott, a rapper that I don't really think much of anything about, got involved and potentially ruptured Cody's eardrum by slapping him in the side of the head.
Yes.
That led to The Rock not showing up at all for weeks and not even at WrestleMania, and then doing a confusing interview afterwards saying that the final boss character is done. Which, what?
I think the context of that interview was that he meant the match at WrestleMania should have just been Cody Rhodes and John Cena. I don't think the context of what he said meant that the final boss character was done for good.
No.
Then there should have been an explanation for why The Rock wasn't there then.
But correct, and also I think that if The Rock said the match should have been Cody Rhodes versus John Cena without The Rock involved, I'm like, that's fine. But then Travis Scott got involved. Why is Travis Scott there and not The Rock? Like, that's why is he there? Nobody's telling us why Travis Scott just turns up to fuck over Cody Rhodes. The Rock makes sense in the storyline they're telling. Fair enough. Why does Travis Scott just get to walk around backstage and then come out and interfere? Like, that's not being made clear. The Rock should have done a better job of explaining. And to be fair, The Rock did say, the way it went down, that's not exactly the way I would have done it. I'm like, well, then fucking do it, you lazy prick. Like, what the fuck? They're in fucking Hawaii. Come on, you do it, right? That's part of it. I didn't like the Travis Scott stuff, but I didn't like the Travis Scott stuff at all. I don't see why he should be involved. I think a lot of people are like that too.
Well, I mean, especially if you look at Cody Rhodes, slab of beef. You look at John Cena, even though he's not nearly as big as he used to be, slab of beef. And then you look at Travis Scott, who is 130 pounds if he's lucky. So having him involved 8%. Physically is a fucking joke.
Correct.
But
ridiculous.
But anyway, yeah. So the build-up, Rock's not around, Travis Scott's not around. Cena's only there for a couple of shows in the 2-month build, and a lot of it is just Cody coming out and promoting the match on his own. So we have the main event. A lot of people are not fans of it. So let's talk about the match itself. What are your thoughts?
I thought the match was fine. It was very slow, but I think that was on purpose. A lot of the matches at WrestleMania had been very fast-paced and very, like, in your face. And Cena has come back to destroy the WWE or whatever. It makes sense that he would slow things down and do, like, a different kind of match. I didn't hate the match. I wasn't, like, wowed by it as much as I was by a lot of the other matches on WrestleMania. I think that was by design. I think they did that on purpose. But I will say, like you had mentioned earlier, the night one ended with the heel very clearly going on top. Night two very clearly ended with the heel going on top. I don't know if I would have done that.
Downer WrestleMania, for sure.
Very interesting. It's a very interesting way to do things. I don't disagree with the winner. I thought if that's what you're going to do, have John Cena win and then have Cody Rhodes beat him later on. Fair enough, right? Cody can chase the belt. That's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Cody's still going to be a face. The problem that we pointed out a moment ago was that the crowd kept booing Cody Rhodes.
Smart
and
crowd.
And I've been to crowds. I've seen shows. People love Cody Rhodes. That WrestleMania audience is not indicative of the wider audience. People love Cody Rhodes. And I think it might be a Rock Hogan thing from 2002 where people were just happy to see John Cena.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They like, this is John Cena's last run. We're happy to see him. We don't want to see who he's up against. And I don't know if that's what they're going for, but I don't hate it. I think Cody's a good guy to chase the belt. I don't think they've done a really good job of Cody as champion. Ironically enough, as John Cena used to be, the guy the babyface that could just hold the belt forever. Didn't have to chase the championship. And I feel like he's going to get back to that soon.
Yeah.
Once this Cody Rhodes steps
Well,
over, Cody Rhodes will just be the champion for a long time.
Well, yeah, I mean, Cody was champion for a year. He won it at last WrestleMania, and
He did.
Triple H, who's booking this, is a NWA guy, and babyfaces never hold the championship for very long in the NWA. You're mentioning the Cody getting booed thing. It's very and because it's your theory is because he was facing Cena, and it's Cena's last WrestleMania. And
Yes.
so people are just kind of there. It kind of reminds me. I remember hearing like Henry Rollins talk about being a kid and seeing like AC/DC play, and the opening band was I think it was Van Halen, like early Van Halen, while they were still like getting established, and they were getting booed. And like, of course, David Lee Roth is David Lee Roth. He didn't give a shit. He still was, performing. But it was just he was mentioning like you're gonna get booed no matter what because the people are there to see AC/DC, and you are an obstacle keeping them from seeing AC/DC.
Right.
John, what are your thoughts?
I mean, Dylan was a lot more complimentary about the match than I probably would be.
Yeah, go for it, bud.
It was, I know it was by design, like Cena wrestling as a heel and trying not to do anything flashy or anything, which is fair enough, but this is the main event of WrestleMania, the main event of 2 days of WrestleMania, and good grief, it was just a boring match. Like, it just felt like it dragged on and on. And then that's before you get into all the shit show that happened at the end as well. Like you say, Travis Scott, who hasn't said one word on WWE TV, so like, why are we supposed to care about him or see him as a big deal? Because unless you know who Travis Scott is and like have an idea of what his personality is, I have no reason to care about this guy whatsoever. So to have him show up and very slowly meander his way down to the ring and like slow down what was already like a painfully slow match. And then like it just makes Cody look like a idiot as well. Like, yeah, he's got the title and he could hit Cena with the belt, and he kind of pulls back, and Cena's begging off, and then he falls for like, I don't know what it was, like an eye poke or a kick to the groin or something. It's like, Jesus, it makes Cody look like an idiot as well.
And
and the whole lack of The Rock being there is just, it's absolutely baffling that they would start this storyline with Cena turning heel with the Rock. Like, the whole premise was someone selling their soul to the Rock, and for him to like, have Cena sell his soul to him, and then there's no follow-up, no mention of The Rock whatsoever for weeks on end. Like, well, what the fuck was the point of that in the first place? Why didn't they save the heel turn for WrestleMania, where Cena could have done it on his own steam without The Rock being involved at all? Because The Rock being there at Elimination Chamber and doing all of his, like,
it sets up the expectation.
Hogging. Exactly, and that expectation just leads to disappointment when he doesn't show up. So for him to come out afterwards and start like saying, "Oh, I wasn't needed. I wanted to put the spotlight on those guys." It's like, dude, you've been in this business for so long. You've made movies. You know how to tell a story. Surely you could see how that is going to be like so unsatisfying to so many people.
Well,
right. Like, I don't know. You gotta know that the end of this is important.
Well,
like, you're The Rock, you're involved in this. You have to know that your involvement in this is going to be important to the story.
Well, so The Rock has
Absolutely.
years of, especially after leaving wrestling, of basically putting in evidence that he is a very egocentric person and is mainly concerned about his own shit. The contract that, when you bring him into a movie, he can't lose a fight, like that is established. That is a thing he's done. Him attempting to strong arm the DC movie universe by that terrible Black Adam movie that took way too long to fucking make and put out, that was terrible and nobody liked, and then trying to, get it to tie into the larger DC universe with bringing in Henry Cavill. I mean, it was so bad that they reset their universe. I mean, that's just it.
Have you seen that film?
Black Adam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
You
dreadful.
both you both seen it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about that in the show sometime?
Sure. Because I
think
like
that
the
would be
Justice.
good.
I like the JSA, and I like Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. Brilliant casting. Like probably a shining moment in that movie is in that role. But
Irish continue once again. Irish ones sticking out. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's
Best Bond.
so really best Bond, not Connery.
Oh, listen. GoldenEye was great. That another day was shite.
Yeah.
So
It's fucking whoa.
So anyway, like I would not put it past, because like The Rock's explanation was like, oh, tickets to the Elimination Chamber weren't selling that well, so Ari Emanuel asked me to come in and do some stuff. I really don't believe that. Like,
No, I don't believe that either.
Nope.
because they've been making so much money and their attendance have been so high, I refuse to believe that one slow ticket sale for an event was enough for them to just completely crumple up the WrestleMania build and throw it out the fucking window.
Especially
It's
because
Hulk Hogan levels of bullshit.
Oh yeah. Well, that was the
Right.
rumor, that the Becky Lynch thing, as well as that Becky wanted to save the heel turn for Raw and not do it at WrestleMania as well. So like there might be too many people with, an ear for creative control is, I guess, what I'm saying. But yeah, no, I absolutely, because I mean, like The Rock, his whole trying to strong arm his way into main eventing last year against Roman, and the backlash being so strong that they had to pivot, and then them act like that was the plan the whole fucking time.
yes. One thing I liked about that was it very clearly showed that people wanted Cody Rhodes.
Yes.
And I think that
Mhm.
if anything has been learned from this, it's that this is just another way to get more shine on Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
I think the end result of this is going to be more like props to Cody Rhodes, which in the long term I'm done with. But in the short term, I feel like there was a missed opportunity at this WrestleMania.
Well,
Rock should have been here. Should have been
yeah,
here.
I mean, obviously he should have been there, and it's kind of almost inexcusable for him not to be there, because that's what that Pat McAfee interview was. It was just excuses for why I wasn't there.
It was not acceptable. Yeah,
No.
it was just not like he could say it, but like that's not great. We don't buy it.
Yeah. Well, and then of course,
we're
like
not
The
for
Rock
it.
always breaking kayfabe immediately after these things in the press conferences, talking about the character he plays and like all this great work and we're creating these moments. This is weird. But I hate press conferences at wrestling events anyway, because I feel like it defeats the whole fucking purpose of what you're doing. Anyway,
Right.
yeah, it is apparent that The Rock has his creative control, and that he gets to overrule like what Triple H is doing booking wise.
Yeah.
I mean,
I will
Yeah.
say, I think it's the right move that Cena won the title.
Yes.
I just think the way it all played out.
way
the
they did it.
road there,
Yeah.
and then the match
Horrible.
itself was just not good, from what I understand.
It was bumpy, and to his credit, Cody Rhodes did the best he could.
Oh yeah.
Cody Rhodes cut some very, very good promos, and
hmm
even whenever he was in the ring with Cena, right? That's people used to say, if he can hang with Cena, he can hang with anybody. He hung with Cena.
Yeah.
He
Well,
the last promo he did, where I like he fucking pulled some good stuff out of his hat. I was really impressed with like how he was able to turn the crowd back onto his side.
Well,
It was
Cody is his
very, very
dad.
well.
Cody is his dad's son. I mean, Dusty, one of the best promos of all time. I will say that I didn't care for seeing Cody having the belt and thinking about hitting John with it and then not hitting John with it, because it kind of goes to this point where I don't know why we're afraid of having a babyface with an edge. Because like Cena kicked you in the dick, beat you up at the end of Elimination Chamber. He's mocked you, he's derided you, he's tried to say that you are a pretender. Why are you going to show mercy now? Like, there's nothing wrong with a babyface having an edge to him, because like Dusty would have absolutely taken that shot. Like it's a very old
Right.
school thing for the babyface to be like, that's the heel. I'm not going to show him any mercy because he's not going to show me any mercy.
But also to like what we kind of pointed to earlier, it's very similar to the end of the Logan Paul AJ Styles match, where Styles had the opportunity to do something to finish the job, and he didn't because he's a good guy, and the bad guy took advantage of him. Like, well, that happened twice in one show, and it's
The exact same
Triple H
show.
knows 4 finishes. As well. He knows 4 storylines. That's what I'm talking about. To have that kind of stuff play out twice on the same night on WrestleMania is a bit telling. And it's a bit of a shame as well, because you're like, this could have been like. I think everybody is annoyed about the end of the Cena match.
Yeah.
Not the result of the Cena match. I think we all were like, Cena's supposed to win. I think everybody's annoyed at the way the ending went down.
Yeah.
That could have been booked much better. And yet The Rock should have been involved. If The Rock was involved, we would have bought it a lot more than if Travis Scott got in the fucking ring, right? That doesn't make any sense. A lot of it was a little bit just unbelievable, but not in a good way. Just like I don't believe why Travis Scott would be here. I don't know why this would happen. Like you said, I don't know why Cody Rhodes wouldn't just like take advantage when he gets a chance, because like we pointed out a lot during the show, the pretense of it being good guy versus bad guy and realistic is out the window. If we're doing a show like this, it would make sense that Cody Rhodes would do what he can do to beat John Cena and to stop John Cena from running away with the championship, like he said he would do. And for Cody Rhodes to not do that doesn't make Cody look great. I will admit to that. I didn't think a lot of it didn't make Cody look too bad.
Yeah.
But I do admit that like if the storyline going into this was Cody Rhodes has to stop John Cena from just taking the belt and running off with it, then Cody Rhodes could have done a little bit more to try and stop John Cena from taking the belt and running away with it. So I don't know. And what I found really funny was on the Raw after WrestleMania, John Cena does this whole countdown where he says, I've only got 28 dates left. What are you going to do about it? And his clear next challenger is going to be Randy Orton. And I'm like, man, that's really funny, because there have been many, many years of me as a wrestling fan where I was sick to the back teeth. Stick to the back teeth of seeing Randy Orton versus John Cena, and they were like, "That's what we're gonna do." I'm like, "That's it." And again, I
feel
don't
like you
hate
gotta
that.
run it. If it's the last time, you gotta run it back.
You gotta run it at some point.
Yeah.
But I'm like, right now.
Well, I think Randy.
It's been so long since they've had a match together as well, so it's not like.
And
Randy's
16.
It's been a bit. That's almost 10 years ago. It's
2016.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say 2016. This is a random guess,
So
feels right. And yet, Randy Orton, John Cena, they're both getting on in years.
Yep. So real quick,
Sure.
Before we get to final thoughts, I do want to point out WrestleMania 41 is the most successful and highest grossing event in WWE history. It was also the most viewed WrestleMania of all time, which is up 114% from the record it set at last year's event. So,
But
regardless
can we clarify that fact?
Yes.
really quickly clarify the fact that last year it was not on Netflix.
Was it on
This
Netflix
year
this
it's
year?
been the most.
Well, it might have been in Netflix
Yes.
for
Yeah,
you
yeah.
guys. It was on. I think it was on Peacock in America, though.
It was on Netflix for us, and
Yeah.
for most of the world, it was on Netflix. So
Yeah.
I would say the reason it's the most viewed WrestleMania is because
It's
it's
most
the most
visible.
easily accessible WrestleMania. Yes.
Yes.
We used to watch it on the network, which I loved. I love the network, but that's for wrestling fans. Netflix, if you're on Netflix at that time and see the WrestleMania is on, you'd be like, I'll give it a go. I'll give it a watch. I used to watch WrestleMania. I'll watch it now. Why do you think that Netflix's numbers for WrestleMania are so much bigger than that was whenever it was on fucking whatever TV show was on? Because now worldwide people are able to access it easier. So I would say that yes, WrestleMania this year was much more accessible than last year's,
Yeah.
and that's why the viewership has gone up. What's funny is I remember last year. I feel like I remember last year they announced like 80,000 attendance both nights. But apparently they didn't, because this year was like 60,000 both nights and is the highest rated WrestleMania. And I was sure last year was like 80,000.
So
So I'm very confused.
So I'm gonna look that up, but while I do, if you guys want to just do like a quick summary of just overall how you felt it did. The we're getting a little long. We already knew it was gonna be a long one. I don't want it to be over 2 hours, and it's looking like we're gonna get close to that. So
We'll do 2 nights.
2 nights.
2 nights.
So anyway, yeah, all in all, what were your thoughts?
Don, do you want to do final thoughts, or you want me to do them?
I mean, I think between the two nights, I think there was, one very good show. Like if you take pretty much the undercard from the Sunday and the main event from the from the Saturday, I think that would be a hell of a WrestleMania. But
Yes.
there was a lot of stuff on there that was just kind of, it was okay, it wasn't bad, it just didn't necessarily feel WrestleMania worthy.
I agree with that. I don't want to go back to the days when WrestleMania was 7 hours long,
Yeah.
but I do think that it took most of night 2, and then took the main event, the opener, and the Part 2 LA Night match from night 1, and combined them. That's your WrestleMania. That would have been great. But again, that would have been like 7 hours long. So
Dylan, to clarify, night 1 of WrestleMania 40 did 60,036. Night 2 did 60,203. So that's WrestleMania 40. WrestleMania 41, night 1 did 57,037, so less than night 1 the previous year, but night 2 did 60,343. So they did a little over 100 more than they did last year on night 2.
Okay, I think that's bullshit.
So
because I
I mean,
wasn't there.
it's wrestling numbers, so yeah, you got to take
They're
it
all
with a
they're all
pinch of
bullshit.
yeah,
salt.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's all nonsense. So anyway, folks, speaking of nonsense, we're gonna go ahead and wrap her up. John, what's your movie count out?
I am at 329.
329. What was the last one you watched?
It was a movie called 6 Weeks with Dudley Moore and Mary Tyler Moore, and it was about a politician who befriends a dying kid, and then they like kind of hang out, and
So
then
it's
she
a happy
dies,
movie.
and it's very sad.
Oh, nice.
It's exactly the pick me up I needed when I got home from work today.
Nice.
Mm.
Dylan, I understand that you are busy with a new project.
Do you? What's that?
Aren't you doing radio now?
How'd you? Oh, you saw it on Instagram?
Yeah.
Okay. This is funny because I'm going to talk about this now, and the 2 to 3 episodes aren't going to mention the radio at all. So that's funny. But yes,
Boy,
I have a new radio show.
Try 3. 3 episodes are not going to have any mention unless you mentioned it last week. Then it's 4.
I was going to, but I was too high.
So a month from now, remember that Dylan has a radio show.
My radio show, it's a local radio show in Northern Ireland, but the good thing about it is you can access it worldwide. You can access it online. It's bouncedigitalradio.co.uk, I think. And I have the flyer. bouncedigitalradio.co.uk. There it is, right here somewhere. One of these ones. That one right. If you go there on Monday nights, 9 to 11 UK time, Corey, you can probably do the math and say what that is.
It's 5 hours.
Like
it's 5 hours different. So yeah, it would be 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. I'm gonna be playing loads of really cool fucking rock music. I already have my playlist for next week written down. By next week, I mean 3 weeks ago.
3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, but if you like Jeff Buckley or Pearl Jam or System of a Down, tune in because they will be on the show. That's my thing. That I'm so excited to be back in the radio. I'm super jazzed about it, man. It's gonna be really good. It'll sound like I'm not jazzed about it the next 3 weeks because I'm not talking about it. But it's not important about that. Please tune in the radio. Send me. You can text in. You can like WhatsApp me during the show, and I'll like read your. Last week we were talking about musicians that are also vampires.
Okay.
And I said Billy Corgan looks like Nosferatu, the vampire.
Yeah. Especially,
right.
Especially if you're in the Adore area or Machina, the god of machines or whatever.
I would say Adore for sure, right?
Yeah.
Very like that's. So we had a whole conversation about who is a vampire, and also a musician. And somebody said Jared Leto, and I'm like, you're being too literal there, because he was Morbius. I don't like Morbius. Not cool.
What about Vampire Weekend?
They're not a real band or a real vampire.
They're only vampires on the weekends, not the weekdays.
My argument against Jared Leto was he's not a real musician.
Fuck 30 Seconds to Mars. So anyway, I have my other podcast has been on break for a little bit because of illness and injury and other unpleasant things going on. There'll be an episode soon. But
it's because Becky Lynch beat you up backstage before WrestleMania. So
it did, and then she took over the show and renamed it, and it's something else. I don't even know what it's called now. But anyway, we'll see you all next time, where you will be. I think next week would be Japanese Spider-Man. So enjoy a watch along of us with Japanese Spider-Man, because then the week after is the drunk one.
Oh, I can't wait to watch Japanese Spider-Man for the first time, and then later on get drunk and watch it, and then later on talk about Corey going to space.
Yep.
I guess.
And then we have a conversation about Venom in between that.
We do, yeah. I forgot about that. Or do we?
So anyway,
you'll never know. You got to tune in to find out.
Until next time, though. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.